Hello again, my name is Emily Angel, and it's my pleasure to introduce our next presenters to the stage to speak to you all about cattails and urban waterways. Please welcome environmental specialist KristiLee Halpin and co-presenter City of Boulder Greenways Program Manager Nate Schipper.
Thanks, Emily. I'm going to start today by reintroducing you to the infamous cattail. I say reintroduce because odds are good you are already very familiar with this plant species. It occupies areas of standing water and is generally found in ponds, lake edges, and slow-moving stream systems. It's most recognizable late in the season when, to me, the seed head resembles a corn dog. It's a species that we don't usually plant, but if we create favorable conditions, it will become established. A good example of this is a past capital improvement project along First Creek between Tower Road and 56th Avenue. This image is from 2015, before the project. We realigned and restored this degraded section. This is the following year, right after construction. We utilized a trapezoidal channel design and a 40-foot channel bottom, and a 0.2% slope, as this design configuration was proven to be stable. Here's a close-up of the project one growing season after construction in September of 2016. I've mapped the open water in blue and wetland fringe in green. As we move through time, we find a fully vegetated channel by 2022, mostly of cattail. And this project has maintained this stable condition ever since. In fact, Google Maps captured street view along the trail, along this trail corridor in 2025, and if you were standing on that pedestrian crossing, this is what you would see. A solid wall of cattail that towers over the crossing. Since I've worked in the Denver metropolitan area, I keep hearing the struggles of cattail, and for good reason. Even though this species will bend and lay down during flood events, this dense wall of vegetation has an impact on daily conveyance. Aside from slowing water and encouraging sediment deposition, this plant also produces a large amount of biomass. Over time, that accumulation becomes a problem. Much of the material remains in place year after year and decomposes slowly. As a result, the channel bottom gradually rises by about 2 to 10 millimeters per year, based on the scientific literature. That might not seem like very much, but in systems where floodplains are sensitive to small elevation changes, it adds up. And this process will occur in any vegetated channel. However, because cattails produce so much material, channels dominated by them tend to build up more quickly than those with other native species. Depending on site context, we typically use two methods to manage cattails. We either dredge or dig them out, or we simply cut them back, similar to mowing a lawn. Both methods have pros and cons. Dredging is really high impact and costly, but it's pretty effective, at least for a few years. Mowing is very low impact, but it's only a temporary solution as the cattails immediately start to regrow, and this can become very expensive over time. Now I'm going to hand it over to Nate.
Thanks, KristiLee. So in addition to cattails being problematic for conveyance, there are other ecological and safety concerns to consider when they're allowed to create large, dense stands. As with other vegetation communities, wetlands are most resilient when they have high diversity. Variation in plant types provides a range of microhabitats and food types that support a wide range of insects and wildlife, along with varying root structures that help stabilize soils. Vegetation diversity also allows for better recovery after a disturbance, such as flood, fire, or drought, as plants are affected in different ways and recover on different timelines. This backup system, or insurance policy, is a core idea of ecosystem resilience. A safety concern that's gotten more attention lately is the fact that these large cattail stands increase fire risk because they create a high amount of fine fuel that burns at a very high intensity. There were 2 specific instances within the last couple of months where cattail patches were the source of local fires. One up in Longmont near their waste diversion center that burned around 2 acres, and another in Denver at Bluff Lake that burned 5.5 acres. Instead of bringing in equipment or repeated mowing, there are other strategies to consider for managing cattails that are lower in cost and less impactful on the landscape. One of those strategies is to mechanically remove the cattails. Now, this is a bit different than just simply cutting or mowing them. The picture on the upper right shows a special cutting tool with blades that oscillate instead of spinning, which allows vegetation to be cut below the water surface. A typical string trimmer, even with metal blades, is not able to generate the speed it needs underwater to cut the vegetation, so this type of equipment is essential for this strategy. The idea of cutting the cattails underwater is that it basically cuts off their ability to breathe. Cattails respire through structures called parenchyma. Now, unless you're a plant nerd like myself, you might think I just sneezed. Or you're wondering, what the heck is parenchyma? Good question. Parenchyma are specialized spongy tissues found in leaves, stems, and roots of certain wetland plants. As the image on the lower right shows, they contain large air pockets to allow gas exchange, such as oxygen and carbon dioxide, between the underwater and above water parts of the plant. When cattails are cut below the surface of the water, it cuts off this process of gas exchange and essentially drowns them out. This is easier to achieve in deeper water, but repeated cutting when the water is shallow can still be effective. This method can result in dramatic changes from one year to the next, but can also take several years to see a desired decrease, especially in the shallow water systems. Another strategy is to apply herbicides. Herbicides are another low-cost method that can be effective on systems or channel edges where the water depth may be too shallow or non-existent to use the drowning method. There are 2 different application methods to consider when applying herbicides to cattails. Those being a foliar application, using a backpack sprayer to spray herbicide onto the leaves, and the other is a wicking application, where the herbicide is wiped onto the leaves of the plants using a device such as the one shown on the right. Due to limited research documenting effective strategies for managing cattails in these shallow gradient systems, the Mile High Flood District and the City of Boulder decided to test both of these lower cost, low impact methods on a section of Wonderland Creek in Boulder. In 2019, the city partnered with the Flood District to complete a large stream improvement project on Wonderland Creek to increase its capacity and function. Wonderland Creek is a mix of privately owned property and property that the City of Boulder owns and maintains. The City of Boulder has roughly 53 miles of stream running through its city limits, and Wonderland Creek makes up roughly 4.3 miles as it flows through a very urban setting before connecting with Boulder Creek. The stream is a very low gradient system with relatively low flows for the majority of the year, similar to what is observed on First Creek. Since the project in 2019, many portions of the channel have become dominated by cattails, which were not planted as part of the project. We're hoping by managing cattails on Wonderland Creek that we can increase plant diversity within the corridor and maintain conveyance capacity as certain portions of this floodplain are sensitive to rise. To test these management methods, we established study plots within a dense stand of cattails on Wonderland Creek. Plots were 15 by 8 foot that spanned across the channel and included a control plot to represent unaltered conditions, giving us something to measure our treatment plots against. We also had 1 mechanical treatment plot and a handful of others to test herbicide applications. If anyone has ever used a wicking applicator, you know that they can be messy, and while they can have benefits for a more targeted application, using this method on cattails increases exposure for the applicator, and getting adequate cover on each cattail leaf blade for the herbicide to be effective isn't easy to do and can result in marginal control. In thinking about scaling up efforts for a more practical scenario, we decided the wicking application was not an effective means for large-scale management, and will not be discussing this method in the results. However, this method could still be used as a strategy for small or new infestations. This slide shows our general treatment schedule. Treatments were mostly conducted in 2024 with 1 follow-up mechanical treatment in June of 2025. Mechanical treatments use the oscillating cutter to cut cattails as low as possible, including underwater, in the months of June, July, and August. and by September, there was little regrowth, and the mechanical treatments were stopped for the year. Herbicide treatments were applied using a backpack sprayer containing ClearCast at a 5% solution with non-ionic surfactant. ClearCast is an herbicide with the active ingredient imazamox and is approved for use in and around aquatic sites. Data was collected in August of 2025 to allow one full growing season to pass since treatments, to better understand the effects of herbicide and to allow for the vegetation community to be at its peak for the best assessment of cover and number of species present. And now to go over some of the results of the study, I'll turn it back over to KristiLee.
Thanks, Nate. Here are the plots after the first round of treatment in June of 2024. The control on the left is lush, tall, dark green. The mechanical plot in the middle has no vegetation, as all of the shoots have been cut below the water surface and removed from the plot. And the herbicide plot on the right has subtle differences compared to the control. Cattails are stunted, and the shoots are starting to yellow. Here are the same plots over a year later when we collected the field data in August of 2025. The control on the left is a solid cattail wall. You cannot see through the plot or see any water. These cattails have reached maturity and are fully developed seed heads. The mechanical photo on the middle shows cattail growth on both sides and in the foreground. But these shoots are outside of the plot. Few to no cattails are growing in the middle. You can see through the plot, see open water, and other species are starting to grow in the open space. The herbicide photo on the right is deceptive. All of the regrowth, all of the cattail regrowth is delayed behind the two other photos, so the cattails that are present are short, and there's no reproductive structures that are present, but there are very few. Similar to the mechanical plot, open water is visible, and other species are starting to grow in the open space. Here's cattail cover by treatment with cattail cover only on the y-axis and treatment on the x. This includes the control, a mechanical treatment, and one representative herbicide plot, since all herbicide plots performed similarly. You can see both treatments were very effective at reducing cattail cover compared to the control. With the progress we have so far, we plan to install wetland plugs in the channel to compete with cattails this year. And we will manage cattails for at least this growing season and monitor these plots again in 2026. I want to come back to the first creek at 56th Avenue project. If we zoom out, we see the First Creek watershed is very flat and wet, with many reaches already dominated by cattails and other vegetation. So within the watershed and with the project that we had designed, a cattail-dominated channel bottom is a predictable result, especially in hindsight. And unlike Wonderland Creek, we have adequate space for the channel and floodplain. As a result, the adjacent land use is not at significant risk if we have a rise in the channel and floodplain over time. We are not up here to wage war on cattail. That's a fight we are unlikely to win, and there's really not much value in trying. We're not up here asking you to fight against what the system wants either. We're here to encourage you to embrace the living, dynamic systems that we work in. And as we design and manage these dynamic systems, ask yourself, is cattail establishment a likely outcome? And how tightly do you need to hold on to your slope and cross-section? If cattail establishment is likely, consider design modifications to discourage it, or be ready to embrace it when it arrives. In cases where you expect a vegetated channel bottom, we encourage you to be intentional. A bare channel bottom is an open invitation for cattails to become established. So establishing a diverse native plant community first helps fill that space before any cattails can get a foothold. These systems will change over time no matter what we do. The goal is to understand that trajectory up front, at least to the best of our ability, so we can proactively manage with intention rather than react out of necessity. Thank you so much.